My name is Sarah Strand.
And I'm Amy Oostdik.
And we are the E2 teachers at Appleton Public Montessori, and we have brought along with us a couple of our specialists who will be sharing information with you about what every specialist teacher ought to know in a Montessori classroom. And just a little history behind this project. When we started 8 years ago, we were very new to all of everything Montessori. So we wanted to create something that would help new schools be able to get some insight into how this all works. So we created a PowerPoint and some activities that will help you get acclimated to Montessori and give you an idea of where to start. So, found this cartoon and thought it kind of summed things up. We are a community of learners, of course, but we all are doing our individual thing within our school and learning as we go and learning at our own pace. A little bit of history. We'll start out with each slide and each specialty area that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about art, Spanish, music, and Fayed. And we have had some excellent art teachers in our school. We have been lucky to only have had 2 art teachers in our 8-year tenure, and we really have learned that we feel that makes a big difference with how students learn and the continuity of our program. Our art teachers have been wonderful to work with as far as how much they have been able to collaborate with us. And we've done many different things, such as incorporating projects with our cultural areas that we're studying, including Egypt and Latin America, Native Americans, and work with our great lessons. Along the way, we've had different kinds of ways to go about this. We had a teacher who used the organization of a studio art class, which incorporates more independent learning with different techniques. And so she's had success with that. And in just a minute here, we'll have our art teacher come up and share with us what she uses right now, actually, in her classroom. Oh yeah, this right here on the bottom here is a section of our mural that we have in our school, and we have murals on the first floor and the second floor all through our school. The second floor depicts countries around the world, and it was a whole building-wide initiative based on a grant that was written by our principal, and our art teacher helped to coordinate all aspects of that, including coordinating volunteers to prep the walls and the designs and things, and of course the painting as well.
Hi, welcome. I'm Jamie Vanerheiden. I've been with Johnston Montessori for the last 3 years. Before that, I taught at high school and elementary and regular public school. So I'm fairly new to the Montessori area, but I believe that art and music specialists can all blend very well with Montessori philosophy, especially the visual art. Kind of to just go off of what she was saying about the last slide and the project-based, I've done that at the high school. It works very well. If you are talking to your specialists and how to organize that way, it works really well when you know the kids very well, which is in Montessori after years. I am new to it, so I didn't know the kids very well, so I didn't want to jump into it. I hope to eventually get back to it. It works very well because students can guide their own area of interests within techniques. But I feel that they need to learn how to do the basics first before they can start venturing out. So I haven't gone there yet. Also, just to touch about the murals too, each ones do the countries around the world, and this year they actually brought it upstairs, and students were able to stand in front of their country or their buildings. They were placed in the area of their buildings, so they had a visual backdrop behind them when they were speaking of their countries that they were studying, and students seemed very excited about that. So Approach to planning. This is when I start planning my lessons for any art class, not just Montessori, but my regular classrooms too. I think it all overlaps very well with the fact that I teach by like little mini lessons. I give them a concept or a problem to solve, and then demonstrate ways that they might consider how to do it, and then they go off and do their own thing in solving that problem with in their own way and at their own level, which goes very well again with having multiple levels and not just grade levels, but levels of ability within a classroom. We assist them while they're working and during work time. And I think to help having a prepared environment helps with that. These are some photos from my room. The top one is an enrichment area or extra time. When they finished what they're working on, they can go to this area. It's always the same. They know it's there. They can go to it whenever they need to, or if they need a break from what they're doing. If they're frustrated, I say stop, go here. The bottom has different drawing books, I Spy books, other kinds of things that they can look at, reading books. There's other templates or rulers, tools that they can use. The middle section has like glue and scissors and standard things that are always there that they can just go to. But then the top shelf has art games, manipulatives that they can play around with and try to build things with. Also having organized areas. This is my counter where each table is numbered, and they have table bins that have other supplies in it. So they always know where to find everything. The stacked filing things are sketchbooks or journals that they can go to draw in, and it's always there too. They can practice ideas before they go to their rigatura or to their final pieces of artwork before they're going to make. They can plan in there. If they have free time, they can go in there and do sketches. Some will rip things out and bring it with them. But that kind of goes with the environment and taking care of it. They all have a sense of responsibility that they know where these things are, they know where to get them. Everything is labeled. This is below. It has all supplies in it that they can use as long as they ask. I have 700 students that share this space. So if they take all of it and don't tell me, it doesn't work very well. So we just have to make sure that they understand that they have to communicate with me. I took the last of this. You need to order more, or where do I find this? Also, I was also on the committee to rewrite our district art standards, and they focus more on the process versus the end product, which I think also align very well with the Montessori philosophy of it's the thought process behind making the work, the envisioning, the stretching and exploring and trying new possibilities, and those are our standards. So not having a Montessori background can be kind of scary for a specialist coming in and saying, but I don't think you need to have that to make it work. Like I was saying, my in-class structure is set up basically, it's in numbered workstations. I try to mix level and abilities. Now being there for my third year, I know which are strong visual learners and which ones struggle a little bit more without saying that the first graders coming into me. But I try to mix them up so that they can, and giving them stations to go to so that they can go and have, their peers can help them if they're not understanding something. I always try to create problems for them to solve where they can work to their own abilities. This is an example of we started authors and illustrators, and this was a scene that they were looking at, and they were creating winter scenes, and I gave this was an E1 class, and they had to create some birds. Well, some of them can't draw birds, so I created bird parts, and they could manipulate them and move them around and pre-plan before they actually created their birds so that they didn't have to, and we talked about paper techniques and watercolor washes and different types of painting techniques before this, but it's just one way that they can use all of these different kinds of manipulatives and planning pieces. Also, I teach in all my classes Zentangles. Are you familiar with those? Yeah, and it can go to any age level. And I think it really helps them not only in art class, but a lot of them use it at home or outside of class and other areas. So if you're not familiar with them, Mrs. Strand loves that her class learns these. But what it is it's, I like to call them organized doodles. Some people call them yoga for your brain. It's another form of meditation. And I talk to my kids too a lot about sometimes in classes or in school, and they're stressed out about all these different things, and sometimes they need to just stop what they're doing and focus on nothing else but where they are at that moment. And this is one way to help them do that. The top section is an example of a first grader, a second grader, and a third grader. And you really can't tell which one is which because they all work to their own abilities. The bottom is examples of a fourth, fifth, and the sixth grader. And again, you can't really tell which one's which. In the bottom, the top one is Zentangle tiles. It's just the basic start of it. Well, then we took it and pushed it further, and they had to incorporate a dragonfly. I just gave them an insect that they had to incorporate into their piece and Zentangling. That was their problem. How they wanted to solve it was up to them. Some made the dragonfly the focus. Some made it on animals. One is on top of a cat's head. I've had other students, one boy said, can I make it being hit by a baseball? I'm like, sure, go for it. So his dragonfly is being flown off by a baseball. So they can kind of take what their problem is and how they can solve it themselves. For those of you who don't have a history or a background of Zentangles, it's a fairly new kind of art movement that these people decided to make for purposes of a form of meditation. I am not an official Zentangle designer or teacher, but I just do it with my classes. There are thousands and thousands of official Zentangle patterns. These are some, I am a copier and paster of the internet, and will find things wherever I can and taking them and putting them there. But you can see here are some Zentangle tiles, and basically their philosophy is anything is possible one stroke at a time. So you don't have to be an artist to do these. Ms. Sarah Strand, you've taken classes and she doesn't teach art. Yes, the person who I took the class from was actually a retired LMC specialist, and she is a certified Zentangler. So not anybody can do it. And that's why I tell my kids that anyone is able to do this at any time because it's one stroke at a time. I will even tell them to look around and look for patterns in nature or things in their clothing, where they are, and turn those into Zentangles. They can make their own. One of my students, she, in her Zentangle design, has a different name for every single one that she made up because that's the kind of person she is. I'm like, that works. So to start, you'll notice that you have a little square of paper in your piece. If you want to take your piece of paper. And the first thing you're going to do is using a pencil, you're going to create a string, is what it's called. And you're going to break up the space of your little square of paper. I'm going to use a pen just so you can see it on the document camera. It doesn't show up very well with pencils because of glare. And you're just going to kind of break up the space so that now you have created different areas that you would do your Zentangle in. And then the thing about Zentangle is too, you cannot make a mistake. So you don't do anything with pencil, you go straight to Sharpie marker or to a permanent marker. And because it's permanent, it forces you to concentrate. With the pencils, you can erase your mistakes. With marker, you can't. So you really have to focus and take your time on the permanent stroke that you've just put down. I'm just going to show you a couple different ones. Like I said, the packet that you have has zillions and zillions. If you go anywhere, there's books upon books of different patterns. I'm just going to show you some basic ones. And I don't even know the names of them anymore. But the first one looks like a basket weave. And it's simply just 4 strokes going one way, and then 4 strokes going a different way. And then you repeat them. So when you go to put them together, and you work in columns, and then the next one would come out, it will start to look, obviously I'm going very, very fast here, but I just wanted to give you the general idea. It will start to look like a basket weave. So if you go into one of your area, you'll fill in only that area, and you'll stop at your pencil line like it was cut off. So in one area, you'll just start to fill in 3 lines, 4 lines going one way, 4 lines going the other way. Anywhere in one of your sections. And the trick is that you will fill this whole section with this pattern. So in this area, I would fill up, so I would go until I get all the way to the bottom, and I'd fill in this area. So then I'll start my next row. The opposite. And usually as kids are working, I will play like soft music in the background sometimes. Sometimes I'll leave it completely quiet. Depends. Sometimes they'll ask for certain things. And you would just fill in this whole area with that section. Another one I like to do is, it looks really complicated, but it's really simple, and you just start out by creating a grid on your paper in this section, where it would be squares created by circles. And then what you'll do is you'll take and create an S wrapping around the stop in the bottom. But then you turn it, and you do the exact same thing. And it creates somewhat of a 3D effect. If you want to try that one. And then you just go to a different section, and again with your pencil or with your Sharpie, you just create your grid. Yeah, I'm rushing. Yep. So, and I teach all of these actual examples to all the grades, even, and I don't have kindergarten. I only have first through for Montessori, but that's where then I tell them that they can do simpler ones, like Pebbles is a really easy one, where it's just a series of little tiny circles. And that's all it is circle, pond circle, pond circle, pond circle, and they can do that. Or even stripes, and they can come up with their own design. The last one is, I don't remember the name of it, but you just come in and you divide your space up into lines, and you can have fun with it. You can add curls to the end, have it go outside of your string area, however you want to design it. There's so much freedom with it. There's no right or wrong. And you start out by drawing one curve going one way, and then you backpedal, making that curve go in, and then you make your next one going the opposite way, so it slightly curves this way, and then you backpedal, and then it repeats. Curve. And then you can do the same one in the next strand, or you can change it to rotate it if you want. So students will then ask, well, they will say, I made a mistake, because right there I just drew 2 lines. Well, then I say, you need to turn it into a happy accident and a learning experience. So they'll be like, well, and I'll be like, well, how could you fix that? You can't erase it. I'm like, well, can you flip it over? No, usually you can't flip it over because the Sharpie marker goes through. So they have to then incorporate that into their design. So I would say, well, I'm going to add some variation to my lines now. So instead of leaving them thin, now I'm going to start to thicken them up or make them wavy or come in and darken them in to hide my mistake, make it part of my design. That's usually how they'll problem solve and go through things. So when your tiles are all finished, you have pencils in there too. And you can come in then sometimes and add shading if you wanted to make it look more three-dimensional. I usually don't go in that much with the younger kids. Eventually, depending on time, I'll show it to the older kids. They get pencil shading a little bit more. But that's the art of Zentangling. Any questions?
So moving on to Spanish, and feel free to Zentangle and listen, because I know with my students, they like to crochet while I talk. It helps them focus in, a lot of kids. For most of APM's history, we have had 2 foreign languages. Within the last few years, due to budgetary reasons and trying to have our assistants in the classrooms more often, we have gone to 1 foreign language. And we've explored 2 time models, one being 2 class periods for 30 minutes each week, and the other model being 1 class period for an hour each week. And there's benefits to both of them. For having the 2 class periods for half an hour each week, it was really nice because the kids are hearing the language frequently, which is really important, and using the language. With the 1 hour per week, I think we can agree that there's a lot more that you can get done and work on during the class period. it's really nice for the classroom teacher because that's an hour-long prep for you and it allows for a little bit more. And there's less time lost due to transitions, so they can get better engaged in the work. Rachel, what is your preference personally between the two?
I'm the Spanish teacher for Montessori school. I like that it's an hour because especially with the E2s, I can do a lot more project-based work. And it's amazing, how much they can accomplish even with me just coming once a week. For continuity, it is nice to see them twice a week.
And
sure, obviously. I mean, if I see them on Thursday, I don't see them again for another Thursday. But I think that Amy was right when she said the transition times, because I come in, I wish I would have taken a picture of it now because I really like what you did, Jamie, but I come in on a cart that I purchased a cart, and I come in on the cart. Okay. I come in on the cart, and the cart is about the size of this chart board right here. And so I'll come in on that, and it has like my calendar. And so we do the calendar right when I come in. We sing a song just so they get orientated back into Spanish. And then it also has like a weather song, and we do the weather. And then my chart on the other side that rolls on wheels, on the other side, I can do anything on a dry erase board. So let's say I have some questions for that day, whether it's how are you, what's your name, a think, pair, share. And I'll share that in this PowerPoint too. But it's just been really nice when I come in on that cart. I have bins. So I have all my work. I have caddies, especially for the E1s, which is 1st through 3rd grade, because the crayons, the scissors, the glue sticks. I want to make sure that it's easy on them too, so that when I come in, they leave, they don't have to worry about me. I have the supplies that I need, and they're comfortable, and they know that the kids are, using my resources. They're great using their resources too. They're very respectful of the rooms for sure, but it's just that it's there. And they know that they can use my materials. I often throw a frog. I have a couple frogs. I love frogs. I don't know. So we say la chica, el chico, like the frog that's the boy or the girl, and we throw it if I ask questions. I just keep little trinkets in my buckets that I can take out, whether it's as simple as flashcards or manipulatives that we can use during Spanish class. I like having that cart when I bring it in because I can change it up, and it also allows me to just feel comfortable coming in the room and having control. Before, I think when I was coming in the beginning, because I was with them when we first started Montessori Spanish, and there's 4 classrooms for this group, and I was putting the materials on the shelves because I thought that's perfect, because I went and ordered a lot of the materials for them, and I ordered a lot of Montessori flashcards. There's many out on the market that were fabulous for them, that go right with the flashcards and right with the control sheet, and the kids know how to do that. I don't, if you know Montessori, they'll take out their rug and they can put their control out, have those flashcards for practice, so that was great. And I think we even had like a little, like you buy a Menards, where you guys have those little shelves with the little drawers, the little tackle box kind of drawer. And that was great, but what was happening, I think, was things were staying on the shelves and the kids weren't using them as much during downtime. And I think when I came back for you again to do the Spanish, I realized, okay, that was great in theory, but maybe it's best that I have the stuff just with me and I take it with me. They still have Spanish books in their classroom, some of the teachers do, but I didn't leave all those flashcards and stuff on the shelves. They weren't being used as much as we thought they would be used.
Even though the students have Spanish for 6 years, it's still considered an exploratory course because they're not getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty verb conjugation. It's more a focus on the vocabulary development. So building that vocabulary, and there's a lot of great ways that Rachel does this with the students, but one big thing, and she alluded to this already, is fabulous materials to order that are already Montessori-esque in that they're the 3-part cards, and focusing on hands-on, getting the children to move the materials. They're self-correcting and, of course, differentiated for the diverse learners that we have in our room. Because you might have a 4th grader who's really taken off with the Spanish, and another fourth grader who's still very much at that, does not have that same vocabulary. Collaboration, we try to collaborate as much as we can. We study Latin America as part of our 6th grade curriculum, so incorporating Latin America with Spanish has worked really well. We're easily able to extend and blend with them with geography, culture, history with Spanish class. Rachel's helped or coordinated with an end of the year fiesta, and that's really nice, getting parents involved as well, making food, doing piñatas, playing games. And speaking of parent involvement, Rachel's done a really great job of utilizing our parents, especially parents whose native language is Spanish. They're very much welcomed into our classroom. And that's a great way to extend the learning. We had a parent last year that would come in weekly and work with the students on the lessons that Rachel did with the kids, and it really helped reinforce. But we also learned from that too that you need to make sure that the parent really understands the whole philosophy, and that the child needs to do it for themselves as well. But it's a great way to sneak in more Spanish time and to hear that authentic language. We try to reinforce those Spanish concepts within our classroom as much as we can. Oh, wrong one. We are still on the other one. For example, I can say in some of our classrooms we'll do calendar in the morning. Hoy es viernes el 20. No, today's the 1st of May. Okay, so we would say like the day of the week, and some of us also do counting in our rooms to reinforce the numbers, so you can count down from 5 or 20 or count down by tens from 100, just to continue that. Just trying to reinforce those lessons in our rooms as much as possible, art, culture. What has been most successful with foreign language has been focusing on those think, pair, share activities, the partner group, the small group, because the children are talking more, using the language more, and that's so important because you need to speak it and use it. Community is also really important, and by community, it needs to be safe for learning to occur. And understanding that we're all at different levels, and that is great and okay, and we want to help each other and nurture that so that everyone can be successful. So respecting and supporting each other using the virtues, especially. So with that, I'm going to let Rachel take over and talk a little bit more about her approach to planning. And like she said, she's been our Spanish teacher for 5 years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, I was lucky to work with this group. My background is I'm a Spanish teacher, but I also work with ESL students, and I've done bilingual too a little bit. And I've been really lucky to come back with this group just because they let me have so much autonomy in some ways too. We do collaborate a lot, but I'll share ideas with them, and they're like, yeah, that's great. So it's just nice to be able to do that. As you know, that's what's so nice about Montessori in some ways, is that they definitely have their philosophy, but I have a little bit of that autonomy too. How I start my day is I'll start out, like I said before, with the calendar. We'll sing a song with the days of the week, and then we'll do the weather. Often it's a think, pair, share, or a TPR activity. I like them talking a lot. Even when I do like little mini songs, which I would do even like with my ESL students who are learning English for the first time, is I like to put the songs on the chart, and I have them come up with a little microphone, and then they can sing the song too. So there's a lot of interaction for them, and not just me doing all the talking all the time. Work time, center, small group, partner activities, whether it's with those Montessori flashcards or an activity I created. I do a lot of dialogues with the E2s, which is 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Every unit I do also has a dialogue with it. Whether it's one I make up and they just fill it in like a closed sheet, or it's one that they have to create all themselves with the vocabulary we've learned, they can really handle it. With the E1s, which would be first, second, and third grade, especially since first graders are just learning to read, some of them still, and they're, maybe they're at a reading level of a B or C still, right? Then I have to be more sensitive to that, so I keep things real basic. I'll always, like you said, sensitive to all the levels, but all the grade levels too. So I try to differentiate a little bit. Maybe the third graders could handle more than the first graders, so I'll say you guys can add this, okay? Closure activity, we review vocabulary and share work. And then, like I said, writing here, specific with vocabulary and grammar. Projects, I try to keep things, like Jamie would like it. I try to do a lot of creative art type of projects, which is so nice. You can always do that wonderful in foreign language. And then I always show technology. I'm there 1 hour a week, but I'll always show an example where the kids can use technology with it. I don't have time to really always take them down to the computer lab. I think the first couple years I took them down once. We did something on Spain. But it can be tough getting the computer lab at that time in a big school like Johnston. And so I'll show them, okay, this is one way you could do it, but it doesn't mean you have to do it with the technology this way. And then I think, do I just touch on it? Or I think for the next slide, I think you had, this is one of the projects we did do this year. We did La Familia, which is the family, and they learned all the people in the family, but they also learned adjectives, so how to describe the people in their family. So once we did lessons on the adjectives, did lessons on the family, this Brigitta is one girl here, she's right here. I asked her if I could take hers because she did really well on it, and she wrote about each person in her family, and she used technology. And some of the students, I could have taken a picture. I'll show you some pictures of, I think there's more of another project, but this is one student that I showed it with technology, and I showed it without, if you were to use two different options of how you're going to do your project, and she did it on the computer. And so I always try to give that option for the students. She worked on this in class. A lot of students would come up to me like, and they'd say, so even here she puts soy hermana y hija, so she's got that correct, but then es alta y bonita, she made me sure to use soy, because I am alta, like I am. So she's, she's still learning that grammar, but she did a really nice job. It's very clear. And then, again, I think what did I do in here? I think I put like a mini lesson or just a lesson I would do for the day. So like I said, I would come in on my cart, I bring it in, they see the cart, they know I'm coming in, it's Spanish. And so, so that's the visual's good. And then I'll start out, lunes, martes, with a little song. They sing it, we do the day, the date. The weather, I put here TPR, and I don't think I'm gonna have you all get up, but a lot of times what I'll do, and I don't know, did you ever teach Spanish, but you're a Spanish speaker? You see those Spanish, so you do like TPR, like so sometimes when we'll do the weather, we'll do like hace frío. So we say Simon dice, Simon says, hace frío, so we practice that. Hace calor, hace fresco, and then nieva, it's snowing. So we'll do the actions. We have a song that goes with it as well. And so I can, I'll kind of prep them with all that, and then they can tell me, ¿Qué tiempo hace hoy? What's the weather today? And they tell me. And so they got it down. So I try to do quite a bit of that with them, whether it's body parts or whatnot. This, like I said, this is one lesson where they actually really did some really nice art. They had a clothing vocabulary. This again is for the E2s. Like I put here, we would do matching with the vocabulary. We talked about adjective agreement and placement because it's different in Spanish. And then they got to make a model with scrapbook material. And so this took us probably 2.5 class periods. So like I come for an hour and then I'd come again the next week, and that at the end of that week I'd say, you guys, we do need to have this done. And then they had to write a paragraph about their person. So they had to tell me, and then this one I think up there says like, mi chica está bonita. So she says, my girl is pretty, ella lleva, she is wearing, and then she tells me what she's wearing. And so I put those up there. And then some of them in your class gave me a few yesterday too because they wanted them laminated because they're really good. I mean, they really took time on their models with that scrap paper. And the writing, I felt coming an hour a week. I used to do high school and middle school Spanish before I, mainly did ESL too. And I'm amazed at how much they can do in that time. They really enjoy it, good quality work, and they pick up a lot of vocabulary.
All right. Well, I am not the music teacher. However, I am going to speak about our history with music at Appleton Public Montessori. We have had a lot of music teachers. They have done some amazing things and have collaborated with us. But I think what we have learned is that it has been a little challenging having so many different music teachers come in over the years. Music as well as Phi-Ed are offered for 1/2 hour per week. And we have discovered again that does make it challenging for the teachers to really feel invested as far as getting to know the students and to really have a really good feel and real confidence about the whole sequence of learning, especially with the mixed grade levels. So I feel fortunate that we have been able to analyze this a little bit more, and we have come up with a lot of different ideas that we would like to do in the future to help nurture that. But some of the things that have influenced this are really beyond our control. We are a school of 4 classrooms at this time, and we're a school within a school, which is very large. So often we are just a .1 for music and Phi-Ed, which is a very flexible or fluent position, meaning we usually get a different teacher every year. So we'll suggest to you for schools that are starting to try to get the same teacher and have some continuity. We have some other ideas that we'll talk about a little later that might help. With that being said, I will go back to reiterating that our teachers have done just a wonderful job with all of the different things they've offered. Our music class is a general music class, and so we have seen a wide variety offered, not just singing, but recorders and other instruments, analyzing songs, analyzing music, and I'll show you a few more things later. But really what we've done has been able to collaborate for our big programs that we offer at the end of the year and throughout the year. We have had teachers who have taught us dances, such as our sword dance during our winter solstice celebration that we've had in the past. Some years we've had themes such as Latin American songs to go with our study of that. Some years we've had a peace theme, so the teachers have been able to collaborate with us, and that's been fun. Actually, last year we had a teacher who was very much into musicals, and she really got into the idea of having students take ownership with their project, and we had a couple of students from Mrs. O's class who wrote their own musical, and they really put together a beautiful end of the year program that included singing and set making and a lot of the things we needed to do in our classroom as well. So there was much collaboration and coordination of all of the parts of this, but it was really, really nice, and the kids loved it and had a great time. So there are a few things that really have worked well from what we have heard. Small group activities, the teachers have told us that the Montessori students are so able to get into a small group and work together to complete a task or solve a problem. So they've really noticed that ability. We are really lucky that we have some extracurricular activities involving music within our building, such as Drama Club, which puts on a musical each year, as well as a boys choir and girls choir that meets in the morning. And of course we have strings offerings and for the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, as well as band for 6th graders. So some things that might help a music teacher to plan for 3 different grade levels is to have an environment that's prepared, things that are ready to go, whatever it may be, books, recorders on the shelf, and having things in set spots. I know our music teacher has the room arranged in a certain way to create a structure within her class as well. We have seen lots of different things throughout the years. One of the things that we've talked, or that I was going to show you, but I'm thinking that we might skip it just because of time, are using rhythm sticks. And I chose this one because I've actually used this in my classroom, not for a few years, but the students really enjoy this. But I've seen several teachers also incorporate rhythm and movement and activity within their classroom. I'll show you more about that in just a little bit. Other things that they've done are call and response type of thing. Again, talking about the musical and allowing students to get involved. But really what stands out as one of the most beautiful things is the singing in the musical part. I don't know if it's just our school or if it's our students, but they are singers and they're dramatic and they're very, very creative and they love to use their voices, and that really has been every year, pretty much every year. And I know part of this firsthand because we've had some different space issues in our building. For many years we had music within our classroom. This year our on-site music teacher is teaching our classes, and so it's in her classroom, so she has access to all of her things, but for several years the teachers have been on carts bringing in materials, and they have made it work. But I think it's a lot easier to have your own space. In fact, last year our music teacher found a space that she could have room to do the things that she wanted to do. So take that into consideration, whether your teacher is going to be on a cart or not, and that might be an advantage or a limitation depending on what it is. So as a music teacher is planning, I think that having that prepared environment is helpful, but also having a structure and a routine, especially within that half-an-hour time period. We know from Phi-Ed that it's really significant to have that routine. So a couple of ideas would be to utilize this music program, and I brought it with. This is a music program that has scripts for every month of the year, every week of the year, and it has the concept and the lesson, and as well as information about the composer for each day of the week. Do you want to just open it up and show them a sample script? So there is a series of, or a set of CDs that correspond to the scripts, and they also correspond to the times of the year. For example, Vivaldi shows up for autumn and winter and spring, and it just is a great way to incorporate these musical concepts. But I actually use this in my classroom each day after lunch, and it's really a nice transition for students from lunch and cleanup into the afternoon work time. But a student takes care of it. There's no reason why they couldn't do that within a structure of a music class to start the day as well. But it's called Brummett and Taylor Music Listening Program, a non-directed approach. And there is a companion, so that there is a ninth CD, so you could actually rotate it then throughout. So it's very nice. What else? Rhythm sticks, I said. Just to give you an idea of what it sounds like, let's see. Can you hear that?
Ready, shoe, hand. Shoe, hand,
And
apart together, shoe, hand, apart together, ready, slide. Slide to the left, hit, slide to the right, hit, right and top, left and top, right and top, left and top.
Okay.
Slide.
That'll probably be enough. But if you want to try it out a little bit later, you're more than welcome to. It has everything in the back that you can use to guide yourself and practice. So Snap, Clap, and Tap is another CD. I think I left that one at school. But it's like this, and it goes through the same things, the call and response, rhythm. You could take this and make it into a time signature type of activity with the notes and to teach the kids what the notes are worth, quarter note, half note, etc. And then you talk about the mnemonic songs, which we use and the students seem to really enjoy.
So like Sarah said, Phi-Ed has probably been one of our most challenging specials just because of continuity. It reminds me of Harry Potter. There's that one course that you have a new teacher every year. That's kind of what we've been going through. So that's one of the biggest challenges, because when you have a staff that is with you throughout the years, you can get a sort of rhythm going. And since we only have Phi-Ed one time per week for 30 minutes, it makes it extra challenging because they don't have that flex time for applying the skill that is learned. So trying to implement the district's curriculum into one 30-minute per week session is very challenging. So we have some suggestions if you are in a similar situation. But those are the main struggles that we've had, but our Phi-Ed teachers have been just phenomenal and have done an amazing job with us. We've learned a lot by getting ready for this presentation and talking with our past Phi-Ed teachers. So some of the things that we've learned in order to have a successful class, number one is be ultra organized. I think we have that. You pretty much need to plan out your entire year before you start, because you only have so many class sessions, and you want to teach the skills so that they can have this lifetime fitness approach and apply those skills after school and throughout their life. So with only one day a week, again, you have to decide what skills you're going to be teaching so that you're not missing things. The other important part is stay relaxed, because it is overwhelming when you think of, oh my gosh, multiple grade levels and multiple abilities and only one class per week. But if you stay relaxed, you're not going to have that mass chaos. Your approach needs to be different. So this is where Montessori is different. It's going to look different, okay? So take advantage of that freedom and flexibility. Rachel said that earlier with Spanish, you know, there's that freedom that you have, and take advantage of that. So instead of trying to fit every detail and every aspect of the district curriculum in 1 year, think of a different approach. So maybe it's a 3-year sequence for Phi-Ed, that you're, you know, working on different skills in a 3-year sequence instead of trying to get it in all 1 year. We'll discuss a little bit of that in an upcoming slide too. Learning names right away helps with any special, just so that you know the kids, you build that community. It saves you time, helps you relax, helps the kids relax. Oh, she knows my name. Taking pictures of the class right away so that you can refer to that helps, because again, you see them one time per week. This is a great way to build that community. Going along with relaxation on both ends, student and the teacher, is having that predictable routine. When the students enter the gym, they know what they need to do. So when they enter your classroom, what's the process? You want a process for everything. even how your class ends. They're not just running out of the room, but you have a procedure. And all of that leads into having a prepared environment. Students know where to put materials, they're accessible, they know your expectations. That's where that freedom within limits comes in across all specials, really. And even in Phi-Ed, things that are child-sized. I mean, you think about baseball or learning a skill, just things should fit the child. And again, that lifetime fitness approach, that's the big goal here, is you want students to have a fitness-minded approach to life outside of your classroom. So when they go home, they're applying those skills that they learned in Phi-Ed. Can they pick up a game of basketball in their neighborhood? Do they enjoy being active? You want them to be moving outside of school. So that's really important, leading that active and healthy life. So in structuring your Phi-Ed time, these are a few approaches that have been most successful with our students. Number one is having those prepared warm-up activities. They could jump rope, run laps, have some warm-up stations. But again, think about that predictable routine. You want them to get moving right away. Again, having that prepared environment, hands-on materials that are easily accessible. We have a few pictures there. One of the things our Phi-Ed teachers use, or Phi-Ed teacher, is pedometers. They can track how active they're getting. And again, this is just comparing to yourself, not comparing to others, but comparing you yourself. And she has a nice little organization station in the classroom too. Stations are awesome. I think all of our Phi-Ed teachers said that is the way to go. You can have a variety, some that are more challenging or less challenging depending on your students' abilities. Then they're not going to get bored or overwhelmed, the other end of the spectrum. Having small groups is really important because of that wide range of abilities and ages with your kids. It's nice, and you can even do partner activities where maybe you partner up students and one student teaches another student how to do a certain skill so that they know what to do. We liked this cartoon. It says, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And you can see that some are going to be really successful with that and some not so successful. So think about that approach when planning your lessons with the kids. You want everyone to be successful. And fair does not always mean equal. So some things we learned to try in Phi-Ed or music: adapt to the 3 grade levels and 1 class session per week. Think about writing your curriculum in a 3-year cycle. That'll take some of the pressure off. Collaborate as much as you can. And this is an area where, yeah, we need to do a lot more of that, especially, with that continuation with the teachers. We really need to collaborate as much as we can so that they are content and not overwhelmed. And if you can try to get more than 30 minutes of class time, that'd be great. But one way to do that is to incorporate more physical activity into your classrooms. So get kids moving during the week as much as you can. And one thing that was really fun is, and this is the latest craze, is Zumba. Does this work on here? Oh, no, it doesn't. So we have...
Actually, you can just do it here. And
so my kids made their own Zumba video, which we're going to watch a little clip of it. Not everyone's in it because not everyone wanted to be videotaped and put on YouTube, but is there sound or not? Well, there's music in the background, but One thing you can do with your kids is have those who are interested make up their own dance moves. This was really pretty neat. Another way to get your kids moving during the week is, you can keep it going, but is by doing yoga in the classroom. And this is really neat because it's yoga for kids. It's a little toolbox. And there's different cards in here with cute names. The peace breath. They have different sections in here. Calm and quiet, energize and empower, posture and flexibility, whatnot. But you can do different poses with the kids. That's really nice before they might do something more stressful. I don't know if you have to take part in state testing as well, but before a test, that's really nice too. Or at the end of the day, just not leaving in a big rush. And in terms of staffing, again, continuity within our staff is so important. It just makes everything easier. And we really liked this quote, and we wanted to share it with you. It says, "Plainly, the environment must be a living one, directed by a higher intelligence, arranged by an adult who is prepared for his mission." And Maria Montessori did say that. And this quote means so many things, but it is the adult who helps prepare this beautiful environment. You're preparing it with your knowledge, but also the children are accessing knowledge from the environment. And thinking about each of those specials, how are you going to make that environment prepared for the child? So having a vested interest in the program is so important too. So closing thoughts. We have some pieces of paper, and we would like you to write 3 things that you learned, 2 things that surprised you, and 1 question you still have. And again, with those questions, you can ask us now or even at the end of the session. But thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you coming to ours.